Commander Yunsik stared at the burning world on his screen. Another planet had fallen to the Krex Empire. The savage aliens had destroyed everything in their path for 3 months now. Billions of peaceful Valerians were dead or running for their lives. Yunsik's blue hands shook as he turned off the terrible images. His people were dying, and nobody could stop the Krex war machine. The Valerian military was weak. They had lived in peace for 1,000 years. They built gardens, not weapons. They sang songs, not war cries. "Sir, another message from High Command," said his assistant, a young female named Kira. Her voice was scared. "They want to know if you found anything in the old records." Yunsik looked at the ancient texts spread across his desk. For weeks, he had been reading the oldest files in their archives. Most were just old stories and legends, but one file was different. It talked about a species from a world called Earth. The file said these humans came from a deathworld, a planet so dangerous that living there made them incredibly strong and tough. "Kira, send a message to Admiral Haywan. Tell her I need to see her right away." 20 minutes later, Admiral Haywan entered his small office. She was old for a Valerian, with silver markings on her pale skin. Her eyes looked tired from too many sleepless nights. "What did you find, Commander?" she asked. Yunsik handed her the ancient file. "This talks about a species called humans. They live on a world with deadly weather, poisonous air, and savage beasts. The file says contact with them is forbidden because they are too dangerous." "Admiral." "Hey," one read the file slowly. Her eyes grew wide. "This was written over 2,000 years ago. How do we know these humans still exist?" "We don't," Yunsik said. "But what choice do we have? The Krex will destroy every Valerian world within 2 months. Our fleet can't stop them. Maybe these humans can." The Admiral was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke. "The file says they are dangerous. What if they are worse than the Krex?" "Then we die fighting instead of running," Yunsik replied. "At least we tried?" Admiral Haywan looked at the burning planet on the screen again. "Do it! Send the signal!" Far away in space, Captain Kim Du-hyen was having a normal day on his ship. The Yuz Indomitable was on patrol duty near the edge of human space. It was boring work, but someone had to watch for pirates and smugglers. Du-hyen was drinking coffee in his captain's chair when his communications officer called out, "Captain, we're getting a strange signal." "It's not from any human ship." Du-hyen put down his coffee. "What kind of signal?" "It's a distress call, sir. But it's in a language our computers don't know. The signal is very weak. It came from outside our space. Put it on the main screen." The bridge crew watched as images appeared on the big screen. They saw beautiful worlds with crystal cities and floating gardens. Then the images changed. The same worlds were now burning. Strange, ugly ships attacked the cities. Millions of aliens ran in terror. "Those ships look like military vessels," said his tactical officer, Lieutenant Park. "They're attacking civilian targets." Du-hyen studied the images. The aliens being attacked looked peaceful. They had no weapons, no armor, no defenses. The attackers were clearly the bad guys in this fight. "Can we trace where this signal came from?" "Yes, sir." It came from about 50 light years away, outside the mapped zone. Du-hyen thought about his orders. He was supposed to stay in human space and watch for trouble. But this looked like trouble that might come to them eventually. And innocent people were dying. "Open a channel to Fleet Command, Priority 1. Within an hour, Du-hyen was talking to Fleet Admiral Park Ji-woo. She was known for making fast decisions and taking risks when needed. "Admiral, we received a distress call from unknown aliens. They're being attacked by what looks like a military force. The victims appear to be civilians." Admiral Park studied the images Du-hyen had sent. Her face was hard to read, but her eyes showed anger at the attacking ships. "Captain, how many ships do you have in your patrol group?" 12 warships, ma'am, all ready for combat." "Good, I'm giving you permission to investigate. If you find a species in need of help, you may offer assistance. But be careful, we don't know anything about either side in this conflict." "Understood, Admiral." What if the aliens who sent the signal are hostile? Then you come home and we prepare our defenses. But if they really need help, double quote paused. Well, humans have never been good at ignoring people in trouble. Back in Valerian space, Commander Yunsik waited by the quantum beacon. 3 days had passed since they sent the signal to Earth. Maybe the humans were all dead. Maybe they never existed. Maybe they just didn't care about alien problems. Sir, Kira shouted. Something is happening. On the long-range sensors, space began to twist and bend. Energy readings went crazy. Then, one by one, 12 massive ships appeared out of nowhere. Yunsik stared at the screen in shock. The human ships were huge. Each one was twice the size of the largest Valerian vessel. Their black hulls were covered with weapons and armor. They looked like they were built for war. Are they scanning us? Yunsik asked. Yes, sir. Very thorough. Scans. They're also sending a message. The main screen changed to show a human face. The alien looked similar to Valerians, but with darker skin and smaller eyes. When it spoke, the computer translated its words. This is Captain Kim Do-hyun of the United Earthship Indomitable. We received your distress signal. Are you the ones who called for help? Yunsik was so shocked he almost couldn't speak. The humans had actually come, and they brought an entire fleet. Yes, he finally managed. We are the Valerian Confederation. We sent the signal. We need help desperately. Captain Do-hyun nodded. We saw the images in your message. Who is attacking your people? The Krex Empire? They have been destroying our worlds for 3 months. We cannot stop them. Where are they now? Yunsik sent the location data. He watched the human captain's face as the information appeared on his screen. The human looked calm, like he was reading a weather report instead of learning about the deaths of billions. We'll handle this, Captain Do-hyun said simply. Don't worry. The transmission ended? Yunsik sat in his chair, not sure if he should feel hope or terror. The humans had come, just like the old legends said they would. But now he wondered what kind of beings could look at a galactic war and simply say they would handle it. On the Indomitable, Captain Do-hyun turned to his crew. Set course for the Krex fleet. Signal the other ships to follow. Looks like we have some pirates to deal with. As the human fleet moved toward the battle zone, none of them seemed worried. Or afraid. To them, this was just another day at work. Ambassador Lee Soo-jin stepped off the shuttle and onto the Valerian flagship. The artificial gravity felt lighter than Earth normal, and the air smelled like flowers. Everything around her was beautiful and clean. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that glowed with soft light. 3 Valerians waited to greet her. They were tall and thin with pale blue skin and large eyes. Their clothes looked more like art than uniforms. Lee noticed they all wore breathing masks and seemed nervous. Welcome, Ambassador, said the tallest Valerian. I am High Counselor Rockthal. These are my advisors, Nexvara and Kildana. Lee smiled and bowed slightly. Thank you for meeting with me. I'm sorry it has to be under these circumstances. High Counselor Rockthal looked confused. You are not wearing any protection suit. Is your atmosphere the same as ours? Close enough, Lee replied. Humans can breathe most oxygen-based atmospheres. This one is actually quite pleasant. The Valerians looked shocked. Nexvara whispered something that the translator picked up as impossible and deathworld species. They walked through the ship toward the conference room. Lee noticed that the Valerians moved carefully, like they were afraid of breaking something. The ship itself was more like a floating garden than a military vessel. There were plants everywhere and soft music playing. This is a beautiful ship, Lee said, very peaceful. All our ships are designed for comfort and beauty, Rockthal replied. We believe that ugly surroundings make ugly thoughts. Lee nodded politely, but she was thinking about human warships. The Indomitable was built for function, not beauty. Every surface was designed to be easily cleaned after battle damage. There were no plants or decorations that could become dangerous. In combat. In the conference room, Lee sat across from the Valerian leaders. She noticed they all kept their distance from her. Before we discuss the Krex problem, Lee said, Perhaps we should learn about each other. What can you tell me about your people? High Counselor Rakthal seemed happy to talk about something peaceful. The Valerian Confederation has existed for over 3,000 years. We have 12 worlds and over 40 billion citizens. We are artists, scientists, and philosophers. We have not fought a war in 1,000 years. That's remarkable, Lee said. How did you maintain peace for so long? We believe violence only creates more violence, Nexvara explained. When we have disagreements, we talk until we find a solution that makes everyone happy, Lee tried to hide her concern. These people had no idea how to fight. No wonder the Kreks were winning. What about your military? She asked. We have patrol ships to stop accidents and help with emergencies, Rakthal said. But we have no weapons designed to hurt people. The Kreks have been attacking you for 3 months. How have you been defending yourselves? The Valerians looked sad. We have been running away. We evacuate our people to other worlds when the Kreks arrive. Lee felt sorry for them, but she also felt frustrated. You haven't fought back at all? We tried talking to them, Kildana said quietly. We offered them food, art, music, anything they wanted. They just laughed and kept attacking. Tell me about your worlds, Lee said. What are they like? Rakthal's eyes brightened. They are paradise worlds. Perfect weather, no dangerous animals, clean air and water. The temperature never changes more than a few degrees. We have removed all the harmful bacteria and poisonous plants. Lee thought about Earth with its hurricanes, earthquakes, venomous snakes, and deadly diseases. What do you mean by perfect weather? Always sunny and warm, never too hot or too cold. Rain only comes at night when we are sleeping. What about natural disasters? Storms, floods, earthquakes? The Valerians looked confused. We stopped those things long ago. Our weather control systems prevent any dangerous conditions. Lee was beginning to understand why the ancient files called humans dangerous. May I ask what you know about Earth? The 3 Valerians looked nervous again. Rakthal spoke carefully. Our old records say it is a death world, a planet where everything tries to kill the life forms that live there. It's not quite that bad, Lee said with a smile, though I suppose it might seem that way to you. Would you like me to tell you about it? They nodded, though they looked scared. Earth has many different climates, Lee began. Some places are very hot, some very cold. We have storms that can destroy cities. The ground sometimes shakes and splits open. Mountains explode and cover everything with burning rock. The Valerians were staring at her with wide eyes. The air contains many things that would make you sick. The water in most places would poison you. We have animals that hunt and eat other animals. Some of them hunt humans too. Nexvara made a choking sound. How do you survive? We adapt, Lee said simply. Humans are very good at surviving in dangerous places. But why don't you fix your world like we did? Lee thought about how to explain this. Many humans like the challenge. We think struggle makes us stronger. Also, Earth is very big and very wild. It would take thousands of years to control everything. Rakthal was shaking his head. No wonder the old files said you were dangerous. You live in constant war with your own planet. Just then, Lee's communicator beeped. It was a message from Captain Nayunji on the Use Resilient. Ambassador, we finished our scan of the Kreks fleet. Would you like to see the tactical report? Please send it over. The data appeared on the conference room screen. Captain Na's voice explained what they were seeing. The Kreks have about 200 ships. Most are old designs with basic shields and projectile weapons. Their tactics are simple rush attacks with no coordination. Overall threat level is low. Lee looked at the shocked faces of the Valerians. Captain Na, what would you compare this to in human terms? Pirates with stolen cargo ships, mostly. Maybe organized crime, but not military grade. We could handle this fleet with 3 ships if we had to. The transmission ended. The Valerians sat in stunned silence. She said, low threat, Rakthal. Whispered, the Kreks have destroyed 4 of our worlds. Different species have different capabilities, Lee explained gently. What seems impossible to you might be routine for us. Routine? Nexvara's voice was very high. You call Galactic War routine? Lee realized she needed to be more careful with her words. These people were peaceful. The idea of humans treating war as normal work probably terrified them. I'm sorry, she said. I didn't mean to sound callous. We take the Krex threat very seriously. We just have more experience with this kind of problem. Experience? Kildana asked. How many wars has humanity fought? Lee tried to think of a gentle way to answer. Humans have been fighting wars for our entire history. We've had thousands of conflicts. The Valerians looked sick. But we've also learned how to end wars quickly, Lee added, and how to protect innocent people. High Counselor Rackthal stood up slowly. His legs seemed shaky. Ambassador Lee, I think we need to rest and think about what you have told us. This is very different from what we expected, Lee nodded. Of course. Take all the time you need. My people will continue preparing to deal with the Krex. As she walked back to her shuttle, Lee thought about the cultural gap between humans and Valerians. The peaceful aliens had called for help from a species they knew was dangerous. Now they were learning just how dangerous humans really were. She hoped they could work together despite their differences. The Valerians were good people who deserved protection, but they might need time to accept that sometimes protection required violence. On her shuttle ride back to the Indomitable, Lee composed her report to Fleet Admiral Park. The Valerians were exactly what they appeared to be, peaceful, artistic people who had never learned to fight. The humans would have to be very careful not to scare their new allies while dealing with the Krex threat, but first, they needed to make sure the Valerians understood what they had gotten themselves into by calling the humans for help. Fleet Admiral Park Ji-woo stood in the main conference room of the UES Indomitable. Around the large table sat the Valerian High Command and the human fleet captains. The two groups looked very different from each other. The Valerians wore flowing robes and soft colors. They sat carefully and spoke in quiet voices. The humans wore practical uniforms and moved with confident energy. Admiral Park noticed that the Valerians still kept their distance from the humans. Thank you all for coming. Admiral Park began. We need to discuss our strategy for dealing with the Krex Empire. High Counselor Rackthal raised his hand. Admiral, we are grateful for your help, but we must ask, what are your intentions? Will you destroy the Krex completely? Admiral Park looked surprised. We haven't even tried talking to them yet. Why? Would we destroy them? The Valerians looked confused. Nexvara spoke up, but they are evil. They attack innocent people. That doesn't mean we have to kill them all, Captain Song Hyojin said. Maybe they can be reasoned with. Maybe they have a good reason for fighting. A good reason? Kildana's voice was shocked. They burned our cities. They killed billions. Captain Song nodded. That's terrible. But humans always try diplomacy. First, we only fight when we have to. Admiral Park pulled up a star map. Here's what we're going to do. First, we send a diplomatic message to the Krex leadership. We offer to mediate between them and the Valerians. Mediate? Rackthal looked horrified. You want to negotiate with murderers? We want to stop the killing, Admiral Park replied. If they agree to talk, maybe we can end this without more fighting. Commander Yang Tae-sung of the UES Retribution leaned forward. Admiral, what if they refuse to negotiate? Then we give them one warning to stop attacking civilian targets. If they ignore the warning, we use force to stop them. The Valerians were whispering among themselves. They seemed upset about something. Is there a problem? Admiral Park asked that High Counselor Rackthal spoke for his people. Admiral, we called you because we thought you would fight the Krex. We didn't expect you to try to make peace with them. Peace is always better than war, Captain Kim Du-hyan said. Even if we can defeat the Krex easily, people will still die. We'd rather save lives, but they're evil. Maybe, Admiral Park said. But even evil people can sometimes be convinced to stop doing evil things. The human communications officer spoke up. Admiral, we're ready to send the diplomatic message to the Krex fleet. Good, send it on all frequencies. Make sure they can't miss it. The message went out across space. It was simple and direct. The humans identified themselves and asked for a meeting with Krek's leadership to discuss ending the conflict peacefully. 2 hours later, they got their answer. The face that appeared on the main screen was ugly and scarred. The alien had gray skin, small red eyes, and sharp teeth. This was Warlord Vexvek, leader of the Krek's invasion force. So, the warlord said in a harsh voice, the weak Valerians called for help from another pathetic species. You humans look soft and weak. Go away before we decide to conquer your worlds too. Admiral Park remained calm. Warlord Vexvek, we're here to help end this conflict. Both sides have lost enough people. What would it take for you to stop attacking Valerian worlds? The warlord laughed. It was a terrible sound. Nothing will stop us. The Valerians are weak. Their worlds are rich. We will take everything they have and make them our slaves. That's not acceptable, Admiral Park said. We're prepared to defend the Valerians. You and what army? Vexvik sneered. I see 12 ships. I have 200. You are outnumbered and outgunned? Captain Song Hyojin started chuckling. The sound grew louder until she was laughing hard. Other human officers joined in. Soon half the bridge crew was laughing. The Valerians looked terrified. They thought the humans had gone crazy. Warlord Vexvek was angry. What are you laughing at? Sorry, Captain Song said, wiping tears from her eyes. It's just funny when someone threatens to outnumber us. We're used to fighting against bad odds. You think this is a joke? Admiral Park's voice became serious. No, Warlord, I think this is sad. You had a chance to end this peacefully. Now you've chosen war. Good, we will crush you and then finish destroying the Valerians. Your deaths will be slow and painful. One last chance, Admiral Park offered. Withdraw your forces from Valerian space. Find somewhere else to live. We'll even help you relocate peacefully. Vexvek made a disgusting noise. The mighty Krek's empire does not run from pathetic deathworld species. We are the strongest warriors in the galaxy. The transmission ended. Admiral Park turned to her captains. Well, that could have gone better. Any questions before we begin? Captain Nayunji raised her hand. Rules of engagement, Admiral. Standard protocols. Try to disable their ships when possible. Accept surrenders. Protect civilians. No unnecessary killing. What about their leadership? If Warlord Vexvik wants to fight to the death, that's his choice. But offer surrender to anyone who wants it. The Valerians were listening with growing amazement. You're still trying to avoid killing them? Rakthal asked. When possible, yes, Admiral Park replied. Dead enemies can't learn to be better people. Major Kang So-young walked into the conference room. She was the pilot of the diplomatic shuttle that had been sent to meet with the Kreks. Admiral, they fired on my shuttle when I got close to their fleet. Admiral Park's expression hardened. Any damage? Minor shield drain? Their weapons are pretty weak. I barely felt it. That was rude of them, Captain Kim said. Did you get good sensor readings on their ships? Yes, sir. Their technology is about 50 years behind ours. Basic armor, simple weapons, no advanced shields. Major Kang looked thoughtful. Admiral, there's something else. I intercepted some of their communications. The Krek soldiers sound scared. Scared of what? Us. Word has spread through their fleet that humans are deathworlders. Some of their crew are talking about deserting. Captain Yang smiled grimly. Maybe our reputation preceded us. Admiral Park studied the tactical display. The Krek's fleet was moving toward the last major Valerian world. They would arrive in 6 hours. All right, people. Let's go save some civilians and teach some pirates a lesson. Remember, we're the good guys. Act like it. As the humans prepared for battle, the Valerians watched in confusion. These strange aliens treated Galactic War like a job they didn't particularly enjoy but would do professionally. High Counselor Rakthal spoke to Ambassador Lee. Your people are very calm about fighting 200 enemy ships. Lee shrugged. 12 to 200 isn't terrible odds. We've fought worse. What's the worst odds humanity has ever faced? Lee thought about it. Probably World War II. That was most of our planet fighting against a smaller, but very organized enemy. Or maybe the siege of Earth during the colonial wars. We were outnumbered about 1,000 to 1. The Valerian leaders sat in shocked silence. Did you win those fights? Next, Vara asked weakly. Eventually, Lee said, humans are stubborn. We? Don't give up easily. On the bridge, Admiral Park gave her final orders. All ships, prepare for hyperspace jump. We have some pirates to arrest. The human fleet disappeared into hyperspace, heading for their first battle against an alien enemy. Behind them, the Valerians tried to understand what kind of beings they had summoned to help them. I think, High Counselor Rackthal said quietly, we may have called something more dangerous than the Krex. But as he watched the human ships vanish into the dark, he realized he felt safer than he had in months. Whatever the humans were, they were on the Valerian side now, and somehow that made all the difference. The Krex fleet moved through space like a swarm of angry insects. 200 warships surrounded the peaceful Valerian world of Kathmara. The planet's surface was covered with crystal cities and floating gardens. Millions of civilians were trying to evacuate, but there wasn't enough time. Warlord Vexthek stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Bone Crusher. He was pleased with himself. After they destroyed this world, only 2 Valerian planets would remain. Soon the entire Confederation would be under Krex control. Sir, his tactical officer reported, long-range sensors detect 12 ships approaching. The humans, Vexthek growled. Right on time, signal the fleet to prepare for battle. This will be over quickly. But when the human ships dropped out of hyperspace, something was wrong. The Krex weapons fired at them, but the humans didn't slow down. Their shields absorbed the attacks easily. Captain Len Jae-sung sat in his command chair on the UES Thunderstrike. Around him, his crew worked calmly and efficiently. The Krex weapons hitting their shields sounded like rain on a roof. Tactical report, he said. 200 enemy vessels, sir. Mix of cruisers and destroyers, no battleships. Their weapons are basic plasma cannons and missile launchers. Threat assessment? Low, sir. Their heaviest weapons can't penetrate our armor. Our shields can handle their entire fleet firing at once. Captain Lim nodded. Signal the fleet, execute Battle Plan Charlie. The human ships spread out in a formation the Krex had never seen before. Instead of charging forward like most species, the humans moved in complex patterns. They used the gravity of nearby moons to change direction quickly. On the Bone Crusher, Warlord Vexthek watched in confusion as his weapons had no effect on the human ships. Why aren't they dying? He roared at his crew. Sir, their shields are too strong. Our weapons can't get through. Then ram them. Crash our ships into theirs. 3 Krex destroyers turned toward the nearest human ship, the UES Resilient. Captain Nayunji watched them coming. They're trying to ram us, Captain, her helmsman reported. How adorable, Captain Na said. Let them try. The Krex ships hit the Resilient at full speed. There was a bright flash and a loud crash. When the light faded, the human ship was still there. The Krex ships had been destroyed by the impact. Hull damage report, Captain Na asked. Minor scratches on the outer. Armor, sir? No structural damage. Good. Continue with the mission. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The human ships moved through the Krex fleet like sharks through a school of fish. Every time the Krex tried to surround them, the humans were somewhere else. Lieutenant Commander Park Mi-young led a boarding party from the UES Valiant. Her target was a Krex heavy cruiser. The plan was simple: capture the ship and its crew. Boarding pods ready, she reported to her captain. Go get them, Commander. The boarding pods shot out from the Valiant like bullets. They punched through the Krex ship's hull and landed inside. Park Mi-young and her Marines stepped out into the enemy ship. The air was thick and poisonous. The gravity was wrong. The temperature would have killed most aliens. The human Marines didn't even notice. Atmosphere is toxic, one Marine reported. Good thing we brought our own. They wore powered armor that made them look like metal giants. The armor protected them from the ship's deadly environment and made them incredibly strong. The first Krek soldiers they met fired their weapons. The bullets bounced off the human armor like pebbles. Really? Park Mi-young said. That's the best you can do? The Krek's warriors were the toughest fighters in their part of the galaxy. They had razor-sharp claws, thick armor-like skin, and muscles that could crush steel. They had never lost a fight. They lost this one in 30 seconds, the human Marines. Moved like lightning. They used weapons that fired energy beams and explosive shells. But mostly, they just walked forward. Nothing the Kreks did could stop them. Command, this is Park Mi-young. We've secured the engine room. The ship is ours. Any casualties, Commander? One Marine has a small cut on his armor. Kreks tried to bite him. What about enemy casualties? Most are unconscious. A few minor injuries. We use stun weapons when possible. Throughout the Krek's fleet, the same thing was happening. Human boarding parties captured ship after ship. The Kreks found that their most dangerous warriors were helpless against humans in combat armor on a Krek's destroyer. Sergeant First Class Bae Dong-wook led his squad through the corridors. The ship's artificial gravity had failed, so they were floating in zero gravity. The lights were broken, so it was completely dark. This is kind of fun, one of his Marines said. Like a training exercise. Stay focused, Bae replied. We're here to capture the ship, not play games? They found the bridge where the Krek's captain and his officers were making their last stand. The aliens had barricaded themselves behind overturned furniture and were firing everything they had. Surrender. And you won't be hurt, Bae called out. The Krek's captain shouted something that the translator decided not to repeat. Have it your way, Bae said. The Marines used small explosive charges to blow apart the barricade. Then they walked through the smoke and captured the enemy officers. The entire fight took less than 5 minutes. Back on the human flagship, Admiral Park watched the battle progress. It wasn't really a battle anymore. It was more like a police action. Status report, she requested. 67 enemy ships captured, 34 disabled, 15 destroyed when they tried to ram us. The rest are either surrendering or running away. Time elapsed? 2 hours and 43 minutes, Admiral. Admiral Park nodded. It had taken longer than expected, but only because they were trying not to kill anyone. Signal the remaining Kreks. Ships, tell them to surrender or leave Valerian space immediately. On the Bone Crusher, Warlord Vexthek stared at the tactical display. Most of his fleet was gone. The humans had torn through his forces like they were made of paper. How is this possible? He whispered. His tactical officer had the answer. Sir, we've been monitoring their communications. The humans are treating this like a training exercise. They're not even using their full strength. Vexthek felt something he had never experienced before, fear. His people had ruled through strength and violence for centuries, but these humans were stronger. Sir, incoming message from the human flagship. Admiral Park's face appeared on the screen. She looked calm and professional. Warlord Vexthek, your fleet is defeated. I'm offering you one final chance to surrender. Your people don't have to die today. Vexthek's pride warred with his fear. The Krex Empire does not surrender to anyone. Then leave. Take what's left of your fleet and go. Don't come back to Valerian space. And if we refuse? Admiral Park's expression didn't change. Then I'll stop asking nicely. Vexthek looked around his bridge. His crew was terrified. Half his fleet was already gone. The humans had destroyed the most powerful Krex armada in history without even trying hard. We will withdraw, he said quietly. Good choice. You have 1 hour to collect your survivors and leave. And the transmission ended. Around the Valerian world, the remaining Krex ships began to retreat. They limped away into deep space, carrying the survivors of their shattered fleet. Captain Kim Do-hyeon contacted the Valerian government. The Krex have been neutralized. Your planet is safe. High Counselor Rakthal's voice was shaky when he replied. Thank you, Captain. We couldn't believe what we were seeing. How did you defeat them so easily? Practice, Captain Kim said simply. Humans have been fighting wars for a long time. We're good at it. The entire battle lasted less than 3 hours. Could have been faster, but we were trying not to hurt anyone unnecessarily. There was a long pause. Then Rakthol asked, "What you did today, ... Is this normal for humans?" Captain Kim thought about it. Pretty routine, yes, though usually we fight against other humans. They're much more dangerous than the Kreks. The communication ended, leaving the Valerians to think about what they had witnessed. The most feared military force in their part of the galaxy had been defeated by 12 human ships in less than 3 hours, and the humans had treated it like a normal day at work on the human ships. Crews were already cleaning up and preparing for whatever came next. They had saved millions of innocent lives and defeated a dangerous enemy. For humanity, it was just another successful mission. 6 weeks after the defeat of the Kreks Empire, Ambassador Li Su-jin sat in a conference room with representatives from 12 different alien species. Word of humanity's intervention had spread quickly through the galaxy. Everyone wanted to meet the mysterious Deathworlders. The room was full of nervous energy. Some aliens whispered in corners. Others stared at Li with wide eyes. A few had even brought bodyguards, though they kept them at a respectful distance. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored beings," Li began, "thank you for coming to this first interspecies conference. I know many of you have concerns about humanity's presence in this region of space." A tall, insect-like alien named Zixstar raised one of his 4 arms. "Ambassador Li, our people have heard rumors about your species. They say you destroyed 200 ships in a few hours." "That's not exactly accurate," Li replied. "We captured most of those ships. Only 15 were destroyed, and that was because they tried to ram our vessels." A small furry alien called Piptel spoke up. "But you did defeat the entire Kreks fleet." "With only 12 ships? Yes, that's correct." The room filled with worried chittering and clicking sounds. Li realized that many of these species were more afraid of humans than they had been of the Kreks. "I understand your concerns," she said, "but I want to make something clear. Humanity has no interest in conquering anyone. We came here to help the Valerians because they asked for help." "What do you want from us?" asked a reptilian alien named Sector. "Nothing," Li said simply. "We want to establish peaceful relations and trade agreements. We want to learn about your cultures and share our own knowledge." High Counselor Rakthol, who had been quiet until now, stood up. "I can speak for the humans' character. They could have easily conquered our worlds after defeating the Kreks. Instead, they helped us rebuild." "But they're dangerous," Piptel insisted. "Our scientists studied the battle recordings. Your ships can survive direct impacts that would destroy our strongest vessels." Li nodded. "That's true. Human ships are built to fight in very dangerous conditions. But we only use that strength to protect ourselves and our allies." Captain Kim De-Hyen entered the room. Several aliens moved away from him nervously. He was wearing his dress uniform, but even that looked more military than anything the peaceful species were used to. "Captain, how are the patrols going?" Li asked. "Very well, Ambassador. We've cleared out 3 more Kreks pirate groups hiding in asteroid fields. The trade routes should be safe now." "Any resistance?" "Most surrendered when they saw our ships. Word has gotten around about what happened to their main fleet." Zixstar leaned forward. "Captain, may I ask about your ship's capabilities?" "For our own knowledge," Captain Kim thought for a moment. "What would you like to know? How fast can you travel?" "Our fastest ships can cross the galaxy in about 6 months." The aliens looked shocked. "Our best ships take 3 years for the same journey," Sector said. "How strong are your weapons?" Piptel asked nervously. Captain Kim glanced at Ambassador Li, who nodded. "Our main cannons can crack a small moon, but we usually use much smaller weapons for ship-to-ship combat." The room went very quiet. "Don't worry," Captain Kim added quickly. "We only use those big weapons on asteroids and dead planets. Never on inhabited worlds." Meanwhile, on the joint human-Valerian station near the galactic rim, Captain Nayunji was training alien officers in what humans called basic survival skills. The training was not going well. "Okay, everyone," Captain Na announced to her class of mixed alien species. Today we're going to practice emergency repairs in a contaminated environment. The alien students put on their heaviest protective suits. Captain Na wore only her regular uniform with a simple breathing mask. The scenario is this, she explained. Your ship has been damaged in battle. The life support is failing and there's radiation everywhere. You need to fix the main power. Coupling before everyone dies. A Valerian student named Tekvar raised his hand. Captain, the radiation levels in this simulation would kill us in minutes. That's why you need to work fast, Captain Na replied. In a real emergency, you might not have time to wait for the environment to be perfectly safe. The aliens struggled. With the exercise, their protective suits were bulky and made it hard to move. The simulated radiation made their equipment beep with warnings. Most of them couldn't complete the repair in time. Captain Na watched their progress with concern. These species were all intelligent and capable, but they had never learned to work under dangerous conditions. Let me show you, she said. She took off her breathing mask and walked into the radiation zone wearing only her uniform. The aliens watched in horror as she quickly fixed the power coupling. The radiation levels that would have killed them in minutes barely seemed to affect her. How is that possible? Asked a student from the reptilian secta species. Humans evolved on a world with higher background radiation, Captain Na explained. What seems deadly to you is just uncomfortable to us. Back on Earth, Fleet Admiral Park Ji-woo was meeting with the human high command. The news from the Galactic Rim had reached Earth, and the government wanted to know what humanity was getting into. Admiral, said President Chun, your reports indicate that we've essentially become the police force for an entire region of space. That's an accurate assessment, sir, Admiral Park replied. Most of the species out there are peaceful but defenseless. When pirates or aggressive empires threaten them, they call us for help. Are we equipped to handle that responsibility? Militarily. Yes, we're far more advanced than any species we've encountered so far. The Kreks were considered a major threat, but they were using technology we discarded 50 years ago. What about culturally? Can we work with these alien species? Admiral Park smiled. The Valerians have adapted well. They're good people, just very peaceful. The others will need time to get used to us. Any concerns? Only one, sir. Some species are more afraid of us than they were of the Kreks. We need to be careful not to become the thing everyone fears. Recommendations? Continue helping those who ask for it. Show them that we can be trusted. Eventually, they'll realize we're not a threat to peaceful people. On the Valerian homeworld, High Counselor Rakthol was giving a speech to his people. The subject was humanity's role in their future. 6 months ago, we faced extinction, he said. The Kreks Empire was destroying our worlds, and we had no way to stop them. In desperation, we called out to a species we knew only from ancient legends. The crowd listened quietly. Most Valerians had mixed feelings about their human allies. Yes, the humans are dangerous, Rakthol continued. They come from a world that would kill us. They fight wars we cannot imagine. Their ships could destroy our planets, but they chose to save us instead. When they could have conquered our worlds, they helped us rebuild. When they could have enslaved us, they offered friendship. The humans have taught us something important. Strength without kindness is just brutality. But kindness without strength cannot protect the innocent. We will never be warriors like the humans. That is not our nature. But we can learn from them. We can be brave when we need to be. We can stand up for what is right. The crowd cheered. The Valerians were beginning to understand their place in this new galactic order. Back at the interspecies conference, Ambassador Lee was wrapping up the day's discussions. I know this is a big change for everyone, she said. The galaxy is going to be different now that humans are part of it. But I believe it will be better. What if other species don't want human protection? Asked Sector. Then we leave them alone, Lee replied. We only help those who ask for it. What if someone tries to fight you? Lee's expression became serious. Then they'll learn why the Kreks Empire decided to run away. As the conference ended, the alien representatives left with much to think about. Humanity had arrived in their galaxy and nothing would ever be the same. Some saw opportunity in this new partnership. Others saw danger. But all of them understood one thing: the humans were here to stay, and despite their fears, most of them were secretly glad about that. 8 months had passed since humanity's first contact with the galactic community. Captain Naunji now commanded Harmony Station, a massive space facility built jointly by humans and 6 different alien species. The station sat at the edge of known space, serving as both a trading post and a training center. Na walked through the main corridor, observing the daily activities. Valerian artists were teaching human children how to create light sculptures. Secta engineers were learning human manufacturing techniques. Piptel merchants were trading exotic foods with human traders. "Captain," called out Ensign Park Dalsu, one of her junior officers, "we've got a situation in Training Bay 7, Na sighed. "What happened this time?" "The Zixari students are having trouble with the zero-gravity combat exercise. 3 of them are floating upside down and can't figure out how to turn around." "I'll handle it," Na said. She had learned that alien species needed a lot more help with what humans considered basic skills. In the training bay, she found 6 frustrated Zixari cadets spinning slowly in midair. Their instructor, Sergeant Bei Dongwook, was trying to hide his amusement. "Okay, everyone," Na announced. "Remember what we taught you about momentum and zero gravity. Small movements, not big ones." She demonstrated by gently pushing off a wall and gliding smoothly to the center of the room. The alien students watched in amazement as she performed a perfect flip and landed on the opposite wall. "How do you make it look so easy?" asked one of the Zixari. "Practice," Na replied. "Humans have been working in zero gravity for over 200 years. You'll get the hang of it." Meanwhile, in the station's communication center, disturbing news was arriving from deep space. Long-range sensors had detected something massive moving at the edge of the galaxy. Something that made even the established galactic powers nervous. Admiral Park Gu-woo studied the data that had been forwarded from Earth Command. The readings showed energy signatures unlike anything in their databases. Whatever was out there was big, powerful, and headed toward inhabited space. "Captain Na," she called over the intercom, "please report to the command center immediately." When Na arrived, she found the Admiral studying a holographic display showing the galaxy's edge. Red markers indicated the unknown contacts. "What are we looking at, Admiral?" "That's what I'd like to know." These readings started appearing 3 days ago. 17 massive objects, each one larger than our biggest space stations. Na examined the data, movement patterns, steady course toward the galactic core. At their current speed, they'll reach the outer colonies in about 6 months. Have we tried communication? Every frequency, every known language, no response. Then High Counselor Rakthul entered the command center. He looked more worried than Na had ever seen him. "Admiral Park, I bring urgent news from the Galactic Council. The Confederation of Worlds has called an emergency session." "What's the emergency?" Admiral Park asked, though she suspected she already knew. "The Devourers have returned?" The room went quiet. Na had never heard that name before, but the way Rakthul said it made her nervous. "Who are the Devourers?" she asked. Rakthul's skin turned pale blue, which meant he was scared. "An ancient enemy. They appeared in our galaxy over 5,000 years ago. They consume entire solar systems, turning the matter into more ships." "What happened to them?" "The greatest alliance in galactic history drove them away. Every species worked together. Billions died in the war. We thought they would never return." Admiral Park studied the sensor data again. "These ships match the old descriptions?" "Exactly. Massive biomechanical constructs that grow larger by consuming planets." Captain Na felt a chill run down her spine. How did the Ancient Alliance defeat them? "They didn't," Rakthul said quietly. "They only drove them away. The Devourers left because they had consumed most of the available resources. But now they're back for the rest," Admiral Park finished, "within hours. Representatives from every known species were arriving at Harmony Station. The emergency council meeting was the largest gathering in galactic history. Species that had been enemies for centuries sat next to each other, united by fear. The secta ambassador, a large reptilian named Torgan, spoke first. The ancient records say it took every ship in the galaxy to drive them away. Even then, we barely survived. How many ships are we talking about? Asked Ambassador Li Sujin, who had arrived on the fastest transport from Earth. Over 1 million vessels, replied the Zixari representative. The combined fleets of 300 species. And they only drove them away, not destroyed them? The Devourers are nearly indestructible. Their ships repair themselves by consuming matter. The more you fight them, the stronger they become. Captain, Kim Du-Hyan raised his hand. What exactly do these Devourers want? An ancient Piptel scholar named Wisetel answered. Resources. They strip mine entire star systems. Planets, moons, asteroids, everything becomes part of their fleet. What about the people living on those planets? They consume all organic matter too. It makes their bioships grow faster. The council chamber fell silent as everyone imagined the horror of watching worlds being eaten alive. Admiral Park stood up. How long do we have? At their current speed, they'll reach the first inhabited systems in 6 months, Rackthel replied. Then we have 6 months to prepare. What resources can each species contribute? The Valerian offered their shipyards and manufacturing facilities. The secta promised their heavy cruisers. The Zixari would provide their advanced sensors and communication networks, but everyone knew it wouldn't be enough. The combined fleets of the known galaxy were still smaller than what the ancient alliance had commanded. There's one option. Ambassador Li said carefully. We could ask Earth for reinforcements. The alien representatives looked hopeful. They had seen what 12 human ships could do to the Krex Empire. How many ships could humanity provide? Asked Torgan. Admiral Park thought about Earth's total military capacity. Perhaps 300 vessels. Maybe 400 if we strip. The home defense fleets? The hope in the room dimmed? 400 ships seemed like a lot, but against 17 planet-eating monsters it might not be enough. There's something else, Admiral Park continued. Earth has been working on new technologies since we made contact with your people. Weapons and shields specifically designed for fighting enemies much larger than ourselves. What kind of technologies? Wisetel asked. Planet crackers. Ships designed to ram through enemy hulls, self-replicating mines. Things we hoped we'd never have to use. The alien representatives looked both hopeful and terrified. The humans were offering to help, but their methods would be as frightening as the enemy they faced. 3 days later, the largest fleet in galactic history began assembling. Near Harmony Station, ships from dozens of species worked together, sharing supplies and information. Human engineers helped upgrade alien weapons. Alien scientists shared their knowledge of Devourer technology. Captain Na stood on the observation deck, watching the massive fleet take shape. Thousands of ships filled the space around the station. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Impressive sight, said a voice behind her. She turned to see High Counselor Rackthel approaching. It is, she agreed. Think it'll be enough? I don't know, he admitted. But for the first time since this started, I have hope. Why? Rackthel smiled, an expression Valerians rarely showed. Because this time we have humans on our side. On the bridge of the UES Indomitable, Admiral Park reviewed the final battle. Plans. The strategy was complex, involving coordination between hundreds of different ship types and dozens of species. But at its core, the plan was very human. When facing an enemy too big to fight conventionally, you got creative. You used their size against them. You found their weak points and hit them hard. The Devourers were powerful, but they had been away from the galaxy for 5,000 years. They had no idea how much the younger species had learned. And they had never faced anything like humanity. Admiral, reported her communications officer, we're receiving a transmission from the lead Devourer ship. Put it on screen. The image that appeared was nightmare fuel. A creature that looked like it was made of living metal and organic tissue. Its voice was like grinding gears mixed with screaming wind. "Small beings," it said, "you will be consumed. Your worlds will feed our fleet. Your resistance is meaningless." Admiral Park looked at the monster calmly. "We'll see about that. You cannot stop us. We have consumed 1,000 galaxies." "Maybe," Admiral Park replied, "but you've never tried to consume a galaxy that includes humans." She gestured to her communications officer to cut the transmission. Then she turned to address her fleet. "Oh, ships, this is Admiral Park. The enemy has made their intentions clear. They want to destroy every world in our galaxy. We're not going to let that happen. Yes, they're big. Yes, they're dangerous. Yes, the odds are against us. But we've faced bad odds before. Today, we fight not just for humanity, but for every peaceful species in the galaxy. For every world that chooses art over war, gardens over weapons, songs over screams. Today, we show the universe that good people, working together, can overcome any evil. All ships, prepare for battle. Let's go save the galaxy." As the greatest fleet in galactic history moved toward the edge of space, every being aboard knew they were facing the fight. Oh,